Welcome back, viewers, and while this story is a little bit more grim for a variety of reasons, it's one that is very important to me, and it just felt like it needed to be addressed. This story comes to you from only days ago and involves another police shooting. The word murder is used in the title, and while that may seem like a charged choice of vernacular, it was with purpose. So here's what happened to make me feel that way. New videos reveal that a Chinese-American teenager suffering from a mental health crisis had his hands in the air for 14 seconds before state troopers opened in a barrage of fire and killed him. The link to the story is posted below. The shooting didn't happen yesterday. It didn't happen the day before, a year ago. The videos just broke the day before yesterday, prompting further investigation. So let's start at the beginning of the story. In an anonymous phone call, someone said there was a possible suicide in progress in the overpass in the location in Pennsylvania. The man's name was Christian Hall. He was 19 years old and he suffered from mental illness. At the time, he was struggling with depression. He was standing on the ledge of a highway overpass near Stroudsburg in northeastern Pennsylvania. He had called 911 himself, it later turned out. This is already a classic sign of a cry for help. If he simply wanted to kill himself, he would have jumped. He needed someone to realize how he was feeling and that he needed help. When troopers arrived, they tried to persuade him to get down, but when they saw he had a gun, later determined to be a realistic pellet gun, they stopped their efforts. In the video that was released, you see them completely give up on talking to him and flee to their cars. Now that the officers have retreated behind their vehicles and all have their weapons pointed at him, they continue to tell him to come down from the ledge. Video previously released by the Monroe County District Attorney shows Hall raising his hands in the air with the gun in one hand after a trooper fired bullets that struck the side of the bridge. This means that there were warning shots, it seems, which is great. As a side note, to follow up on the warning shots, he shot at concrete. If you know anything about bullets and physics, there's ricochet. It's honestly incredible that the bullet bouncing off the concrete didn't hit anyone. It's a good thing police officers receive firearms training. It seems it's nearly as effective as the training they receive regarding dealing with mentally ill citizens. Back to the matter at hand. The police were also reportedly on scene for over 1 hour, so it was a delayed murder as well. The biggest part of this shooting that really throws up red flags, though, is about to be revealed. The final seconds before he was killed were blurred by authorities in the original video release. This was undoubtedly to prevent people from seeing the gruesome scene of the police defending themselves when the suspect decided to take them down with him, brandished his weapon, and tried to shoot the police officers, right? Or was it? Yesterday, when the new video was uncovered, it was revealed that he never did drop the airsoft pistol. That fact is true. It is also true, however, that he never once pointed that pistol towards police. He never brandished the weapon in a threatening manner. He never once gave anyone a reason to feel that they had to shoot to kill. He also never once gave anyone indication that he was going to harm anyone at all. His hands and the airsoft pistol were raised in the air, muzzle pointed skyward, and that didn't change for 14 seconds straight. He kept his hands raised in the air and only approached the officers when instructed to. All these facts aside, the district attorney determined it was a justified shooting. If we, as private citizens, were on video with our carry permits or performing open carry in states where it's legal and shot someone, we would be heavily scrutinized. That was 14 seconds. We would be charged with manslaughter, at the very least. These officers received no punishment, and the DA said it was justified. In what world is it justified to shoot someone who has their hands in the air and is surrendering? It's important to note that while this was going on, the only reason he approached the officers was because he was instructed to do so. Hall's family has hired attorneys, the same that represented George Floyd's family, and in October, those attorneys, Ben Crump and Devin M. Jacobs, sent letters to the U.S. Justice Department, the FBI, and Pennsylvania's Attorney General asking for a new investigation into Hall's shooting, and the response to it by the state police and the Monroe County DA's office. The FBI and the Justice Department declined to comment. A spokesperson for the Attorney General's office said it does not have jurisdiction because the local district attorney has not referred the case to it. This really should raise another major red flag. Were you paying attention to what was just said? Let's take another look. The FBI and Justice Department wouldn't get involved, and the Attorney General's office said it does not have jurisdiction because the local district attorney has not referred the case to them. Let's break that down. The office that determined nothing wrong happened in this shooting would have to turn that case voluntarily over and say to the federal government, hey, I'm sorry, I may have messed up. These officers murdered a mentally ill 19-year-old with his hands in the air. Please look into it and determine if I was wrong and if charges should be filed against the state troopers and possibly me. So please, viewers, stay with this one. If you messed up and were covering for others who did something terrible, and your boss was the only one who could say you messed up, and was the only one who could punish or terminate you, would you go to them and ask for them to look into it yourself? This is absurd. It's nearly as absurd as politicians voting on their own pay and benefits, and then being the only ones who can limit their own power or impose term limits on their positions. People will still blindly defend our system, however, and stand in front of the big blue shield and defend it till the end. Now, full disclosure, it would be irresponsible to say that the system never works, or that every single person involved with said system is evil or bad. Statistically speaking alone, that can't be true. And it clearly isn't true, but of that entire group of officers that gunned down this teenager, one could have stated they felt it wasn't justified. They could have come forward. Whether it was peer pressure, career pressure, union pressure, or perhaps just self-preservation. Those exact same sentiments apply all the way up the chain of command and into the judicial branch as well. It also begs the question, why? This is America, the greatest country in the world. Why are we still allowing police officers to respond to situations that they have absolutely no expertise in? We send these officers in to deal with a suicidal teen, one that is indirectly crying out for help, one hoping that since he couldn't convince himself to jump off of the overpass, maybe the trigger-happy police would do it for him. After an hour or more of torment, hands raised, maybe he had found the will to live, but the screaming and exhaustion kept him from thinking of dropping his weapon when being told to walk towards police. Especially considering that it wasn't a real firearm, it may not have registered in his mind that he needed to drop it. Why wasn't there a mental health professional on site? When police are dispatched to deal with mental illness or suicide attempts or outbursts from family members with a history of illness, why aren't we sending professionals who are trained and equipped to deal with it? Wouldn't that make more sense? Professionals who respond day and night with the police to prevent murders like this. Maybe that isn't the answer, but there has to be a better way than what we're currently doing. As the greatest country in the world, we should be able to have discussions and think of new ways to improve the systems we have, make them better. I wanted to share this excerpt from the treatmentadvocacycenter.org. Quote, people with untreated mental illnesses are 16 times more likely to be killed during a police encounter than other civilians approached or stopped by law enforcement. Numbering fewer than 1 in 50, or 2% of U.S. adults, individuals with untreated severe mental illness are involved in at least 1 in 4, and as many as half, or 25 to 50% of all fatal police shootings, this study reports. Because of this prevalence, reducing encounters between on-duty law enforcement and individuals with the most severe psychiatric diseases may represent the single most immediate practical strategy for reducing fatal police shootings in the United States. End quote. Take a moment and think about that. Those statistics are unreal. So those are the facts up for consideration. What kind of reform, if any, could benefit the current system? The viewers can decide. So let's begin. And remember, think freely, discuss openly.